Hello, this is Anna Maria from Northeast Animal Rights doing another one of our Saturday Spotlight interviews. Today we are absolutely delighted to have along Matthew Glover, who is a vegan business activist, and he's mostly known for Veganuary, but also more recently for VFC. So welcome, Matthew, and thank you very much for agreeing to do this for us.
Thanks, Anna, for having me on your podcast, and look forward to chatting.
You're very welcome. So first of all, a question which I ask everyone, could you please tell me about your vegan journey?
Well, it took me way too long to join the dots up. So I went vegan when I was 38. I'd been vegetarian for about 10 years before that, so probably around 28. I think I always really was a vegetarian vegan, just hadn't made the right decisions. So my family were butchers and meat traders. So I spent time in slaughterhouses and butcher shops and whatnot when I was sort of a young child. So I always understood where meat came from. But it wasn't until I watched a video online called The Video The Meat Industry Doesn't Want You to See, and it was fronted by Paul McCartney. And I just stumbled across it and I watched it, and I saw scenes of cruelty in the egg and the dairy industry that I hadn't really considered up until that point. I just thought, I can't support these industries anymore.
Yeah. So Veganuary, I mean, look, most people in the country will know what Veganuary, they've heard of it, whether they know what it's about, but obviously it's coming up sometime, it's coming up in January, although we know the work goes on throughout the year. So can you tell me how that came about? And, and also why did you make the decision to kind of like move into, I know you're still sort of supporting Veganuary, but move into VFC as well?
Yeah, so me and my wife Jane had started taking part in various sort of forms of activism, but none of it really felt like we were reaching enough people. And so I started, looking at different sort of campaign ideas. And I remembered I'd taken part in Movember, where you grow a mustache for the month of November. And I thought, I wonder if we could take, that sort of idea. And in the UK, we're sort of used to these month-long events with a funny word or two words merged together, and like Stoptober and Dry January and Movember. Yeah. And so we thought, what's the best thing we can do for animals? So well, let's go vegan for a month, and then which month would it be? And January to us was the obvious month. So we had Vegan January, merged them together, and it became Veganuary, which is now in the dictionary. So very proud of. So yeah, I mean, it was really through that, and we've worked obviously very hard on the campaign over the last sort of 9-10 years. It's going to be our 10th edition this January, so time moves really fast. These days, me and Jane are trustees. I'm chair of the board. Basically means I'm more involved in bureaucracy and charity governance and that stuff than I am sort of campaigning through Veganuary. But we've got an amazing CEO, a fully female senior leadership team. We've got staff in various different countries, about 30 staff in total. And we're all geared up now for the 10th edition, and hope we can reach even more people than previous years.
Mm-hmm. Well, last year actually we got some funds to do a big digital media. I mean, it's big for us, digital media campaign in our town. So as the big Asda store carport, we had a big Veganuary advert, which was absolutely brilliant. And we'll be doing the same again this year as well. And obviously we do our outreach, so we do food events and we have the big banners and everything up. So it's great to have a good push.
Yeah, I mean, with hindsight, I mean, it was all word of mouth and activists getting behind it, and all we did was created a platform that that sort of then took on a world of its own. So it's so thank you so much for helping to promote the campaign in your area.
So how did you get involved with VFC, and why chicken? I mean, our chickens, to me, I mean, are really one of the most abused animals on the planet. And we've had rescue chickens, and so anything anybody does to help them and to raise awareness for them is brilliant. But how did you get involved?
Well, like so many things in my life, it sort of I stumbled into it. So I'd started eating, or me and Jane used to go to a restaurant in York called Sauce, And we got to know the owners of the restaurant, Adam, the chef, and his wife, Katie. And I think somebody said, oh, there's vegan royalty in your restaurant. Are you aware of that? So Katie came over and introduced herself and said, oh, I hear you're the founders of Veganuary. So that's how we got to know them. And then when the lockdown happened, me and Adam just got on a Zoom call. We weren't friends as such, but I was just concerned about a local businessman, really, and what was going to happen to his business. And as we were chatting, I said, look, I really miss your vegan fried chicken, which he had as a menu item. And he says, I'll tell you what, Matthew, I'm not doing anything. I'll cook some up at home. I'll freeze it and I'll send it to you. So I got this delivery during the lockdown, put it in the oven for 20 minutes. He sent me some McCain fries as well and some barbecue sauce and everything. So really looked after me. And I was just like, afterwards, I was like, Adam, I think we could sell this stuff. You know, I think we're onto something here. So that's how it started, really, through lockdown. And then, you know, we've been working on it for the last 2.5 years, building out a team and taking on investment. We're in Tesco's and Sainsbury's at the minute. We've got range review windows coming up. I can't say too much, but needless to say that over the coming months, our distribution will improve significantly. So you'll be able to buy it in a lot more supermarkets over, you know, but by January, certainly. And also we've got new products coming out as well, which again, I can't tell you much about, but, you know, we're improving the range. So it's going really well. And we took this activist mindset. I mean, the reason why we chose, or I was so keen to do this was for the same reason that you mentioned. You know, chickens are the most abused land animal on the planet. You know, the numbers dwarf any other animal, which are still big numbers of pigs and cows and ducks and turkeys, but chickens are on a different level. And they're nearly all factory farmed. You know, they say 95% in the UK, it's 99% in the US. It's the same in most of the rest of the world as well. And the conditions on these factory farms is horrendous. I've been into many of them, filmed in these farms. So we're squarely focused on, you know, the first thing that we talk about in the board meetings is how many chickens have we spared, you know, in terms of how many kilos of VFC of you know, and what the comparison of chicken meat would be. I mean, we're still at the very beginning. The numbers are quite minute in comparison to the problem, but, you know, we're going to keep working on it and try and spare as many chickens as we can. Yeah,
I think, I mean, I may be a little bit biased, but I think VFC is probably the product to try and beat, because it's the quality is there. The price point is not sort of to the point where people can't afford it. It's kind of like in the middle. So you've got the quality there, and also you've got the realistic, you know, the realistic sort of texture and taste and everything. We used VFC when we did a cheese, chocolate and chicken outreach, and we used VFC, and that was the most popular one.
Good.
We had, I mean, there were all these chicken kids walking past going to KFC, and they were trying some of the stuff, you know. So, so it went down really well.
Well, we've got a version 3 coming out, which is a significant improvement on our version 2 as well. So, you know, it's going to improve, you know, quite a lot over the coming months.
Yeah. Now your marketing campaign, okay, is absolutely hilarious. I mean, we have had so many laughs at it. I mean, it's kind of like when you've got a few 5 minutes and you need a bit of a boost, we sit and look at your social media stuff, because it's so funny. We've actually, well, as well, in a telephone box outside of our Morrison's in our local tiny little town, we saw one of your big VFC adverts, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, look, VFC, we're here. So we were. You know, I was just wondering, how did it come about? Did it come about because somebody just had a look at, you know, your admin team had a look at what was coming in and thought, we're going to kind of try and respond to this, or was it a concerted effort to do it?
So what happened was, I mean, since we've launched, we've always had so many trolls, which we've named cluckwits. And it's, I mean, whenever we put an advert out, I mean, we get a barrage of these comments, you know. I'd rather eat my aunt Nan's ass was one a few days ago, and some of they are funny. So we take it and on the chin, and we try and have a bit of banter. And sometimes it works. Sometimes people actually find it funny that we don't just hide their comments and delete them, but we do try and engage and have fun. And so yeah, it's all been a part of a central part of the campaign that we stumbled upon, really. And and we decided to then put some of these cluckwit comments and our responses, and we put them on the London Underground, and we've also put them on, as you say, phone boxes around the country. And it went very well. And I think we're probably, I can't say too much, but I think it's likely that we'll probably develop it even further and have a bigger campaign with these as well. So yeah, it's actually, and also it's the most engaging content that we have on social media. A lot of food brands are pretty boring, and they're safe, and they talk about sustainability, and they put recipes and stuff like that, and the engagement rates are pretty low. But when we have our sort of troll comments, engagement rate is huge. As a brand, we get over 6% engagement rate. Most brands get less than 1% engagement rate. So it's working for us, and it's helping us to build our audience and our following. And it's not just the vegans that find it funny. Non-vegans find it funny as well. So it's working on many fronts. Yeah,
which I suppose is part of the point as well, because you don't want, you kind of pitch into the converted when you sort of throw in vegan sort of, like non-vegan troll comments. I mean, we obviously get the odd one here and there on our page. We get a few, and some of them are quite unpleasant. We only tend to remove them if they, if they're downright offensive, like using bad language or racist or homophobic or something like that. But where we think we can use it to educate, we keep them on. And also we're very conscious that the more comments on, the more it keeps your social media live. But I just think yours is just absolutely inspired. It's just hilarious. So pass on our congratulations to everybody who's involved in that, because they're all
actually, thank you. It's the whole team. Actually, my wife Jane as well. She does a lot of the comebacks, and she's naturally funny, sort of Blackadder, and the Young Ones was how she grew up on all that stuff. So she's got a natural wit. So a lot of the really great comebacks is Jane, and she's watching it at 11 o'clock at night on her phone, and 7 o'clock in the morning when she wakes up, she's responding to these people. But she enjoys it.
Has she got like a list of notes, just waiting to wait for somebody to make a comment, and I'm going to put that one in straight away?
She takes screenshots of her best ones as well. So she's got, her whole phone is a load of screenshots of these conversations.
So were you surprised at how quickly VFC became successful? Because it has actually gone from, from our point of view, it's gone from nowhere to just being everywhere. It probably doesn't feel like that to you.
No, it doesn't feel, it doesn't really feel like that. There's a lot of challenges in building a food brand, not least on the production and the scaling up side of things. And it can be frustrating that you can't just go and do a deal with a supermarket chain and they list you the next week, because they have these range review windows. So at the moment, I know there's some really good stuff coming, but I can't tell you about it because it's got to fit within their cycle. But I think nearly all food startups fail within the first year. We're into our second or third year now, and we're still going. Through Veg Capital, we've been able to fund it and bring on a really talented team of people. So it's a really challenging environment at the minute, but I think VFC will be one of the long-term success stories, at least I hope so.
So kind of as an aside to that then, obviously we're in the middle of a massive cost of living crisis. We hear it every single day in the news. People are struggling to feed their families. And one of the things we've been saying to people that, the reasons why things are so expensive is because we're kind of going around the houses to get the food to people, rather than just using the plant-based stuff, which is so much cheaper. So what's your response to when people say that plant-based food in the vegan lifestyle is expensive?
Yeah, so Veganuary actually did some research with Kantar, and they looked at the average basket of goods of families that were buying predominantly plant-based food or fully plant-based foods, and comparing it with standard basket of goods, which included meat, dairy, eggs, and whatnot. And overall, it's cheaper to live on a plant-based diet than it is on a meat-based diet, and this is Kantar independent research. So whereas, yes, okay, a vegan fried chicken product would be more expensive than an equivalent fried chicken product, and the same with, you know, dairy alternatives and what have you. The rest of the products, you know, if you're eating more whole food plant-based, you know, legumes and beans and pasta and all of that stuff within your diet, then it's going to work out cheaper. Also, interestingly, the cost of a lot of meat is going up quite a lot at the minute. So, you know, and I'm not sure that the plant-based foods are going up at quite the same ratio. So, you know, we might start getting to closer to price parity over the coming months and years. And the other thing is, these industries are heavily subsidized, and, you know, this needs to change. And, you know, we need to work with, you know, in terms of policy with institutions and government to try and make it a fairer playing field.
Yeah. So you do a lot of work with, I know you work with Gen V, which used to be $1 Million Vegan, and Veg Capital you've mentioned there, and Sentient Ventures as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement with those, please? So
Gen V, so that was something that me and Jane started as well, which, you know, we challenged Pope Francis to go vegan for a month, during Lent. Yeah. Offered $1 million to charity if he did so, and we built a lot of campaign around that, mainly to try and target more of a conservative audience, more of you know, Catholic religious audience, which is predominantly in Mediterranean countries and Latin America, was the focus of that campaign, and it did really well. Obviously, Pope Francis didn't agree, but we never expected he would. It was all about raising awareness for the issues. Now the campaign is, or Gen V is more of a platform, just sharing content, animal rights, vegan messaging going forward. So, and there's a great team there that are running that. What I've been doing mostly over the last 2 to 3 years is working in the venture capital space, which is Veg Capital. So there's some mission-aligned vegan investors that I ultimately work for, and been helping to deploy that capital into early stage startups in plant-based and precision fermentation companies. Most of those companies have been in the UK and Europe, although we've done some investments like in Brazil and other parts of the world. VFC is our biggest investment. We also have a major investment in Clive's Pies, which are organic pies. Winter's coming, so stock up on your pies. Another brand is Chicken, which is a curry, chicken curry brand, which again is, we're very excited about the opportunity there. They've recently got a big listing in Costco, and exciting times ahead. So really just been investing in these companies. It's been really interesting for me to meet some amazing startup founders, very inspiring. It is difficult, it's a challenging time for a lot of these startups, so we spend a lot of time just, you know, assisting where we can, potentially doing follow-on investment so they can expand. And then finally, Sentient Ventures is because Veg Capital just it's basically like a family office with one family that are funding everything, and we're committed to giving everything to charity. So if we ever make any profit out of VFC, out of any of our investments, then that will get recirculated back into animal charities and diet change, effective diet change campaigns, basically. But Sentient Ventures came about because people wanted to invest in Veg Capital. So we decided to create a separate fund where other investors could put money in. So I think the priority is to try and get big money, like institutions, family offices, high net worth individuals, to write big tickets. And instead of them investing their money in, I don't know, fossil fuels or other forms of technology, if we can get them to divert a proportion of their funding into plant-based foods, then we can scale things up a lot quicker and make sure that we get better products at better prices and in, you know, more available on restaurant menus and in supermarkets. So that's the plan. And that's what I've been working on predominantly the last couple of years.
Yeah. So going forward then, so what's your, I mean, what's next for you in terms of like projects and things you've got going on like immediately in the near future?
Well, actually, this is an exclusive, so I've not told anybody sort of publicly yet. But I'm working with a small team on a documentary series. So from January onwards of next year, going to go on a journey of discovery to understand what the world is going to look like in 2050 if we carry on the trajectory that we are in terms of meat consumption and dairy, fish, egg consumption at the moment. You know, the population's increasing. We've got all sorts of very worrying environmental issues such as climate change, species extinction, loss of biodiversity. So it's going on a journey of really understanding what's happening and trying to tell a picture of the food systems and agriculture, specifically the impacts of animal agriculture, are having on a global basis. Pulling all of this content together into a documentary series, trying to get it onto Netflix or some other streaming platform as well. And at the same time, using some of the content that we created to go into, on social media in the meantime. So it's like feeding two birds with one stone, as they say, and creating social content and creating this documentary. So, it's frustrating that I'm very frustrated that change is not happening fast enough. And I'm just one individual, but I'm trying as hard as I can as one individual to do as much alongside so many others.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, you sound as if you just constantly, you're absolutely flat out all the time. But it is about, that one individual standing with another individual and all together, all those individuals make a massive change. A bit like the stuff we're seeing in the news with Animal Rebellion and I know GSO out there at the moment. Loads of things going on and all these individuals standing together. And yes, it's not happening fast enough, but it is happening. So we've just got to keep on pushing, and you're doing what you're doing, which is a massive, sort of feeding people and educating them and doing loads of different things as well. So that's all my questions for now. Anyway, it's been fascinating talking to you, really, really interesting. We're going to be we'll be watching out for the documentary coming out. So please let us know when it's due out, and we'll keep our eyes peeled and watch it. And it'll be great if you get it on Netflix or something like that, a streaming platform, so we can you can watch it. It's really accessible.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that Viva's documentary about hogwood that recently got onto Netflix this week, which was amazing to see because it's got some quite graphic content in there. And I was really pleased to see that because there's been a perception that that Netflix is not streaming vegan documentaries anymore. But if we do, I mean, Seaspiracy, Cowspiracy, What the Health, all of these documentaries have had such a powerful impact. I'm trying to, the idea is with our team is to do the next level and create a whole series about it and, and try and cover as much of the issues environmentally, ethically, from a public health perspective, and try and, encourage society, government, institutions, food companies, individuals to all, think about this seriously.
Well, more power to you. I mean, you're doing an absolutely brilliant job. I mean, we're all huge fans of your food, but also your ethics as well and everything you do. And pass on, like I said, our good wishes to Jane and keep up the good work for all the social media stuff. But thank you very much for joining us today. We really, really appreciate it. You've given up your time. So I'm going to sign off now. So this is Anna Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights saying thank you very much to Matthew Glover from Veganuary and VFC for joining us today, and wishing you the best of luck with everything you do.
Thank you.